Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into some truly strange but true stories from history. And fair warning right up front, one of the accounts we'll unpack is pretty graphic, but we'll handle it with care, give it context, focusing on what it reveals about, the complex workings of the human mind and belief. Our mission in this deep dive: take three bizarre historical incidents and uncover what they truly tell us about human perception, resilience, and maybe the astonishing limits of belief. Our sources for today are a series of distinct narrative accounts. Each one presents an event that, well, defied easy explanation at the time.
Right. And our goal isn't just to sort of retell these incidents. We really want to understand the underlying why. Why did people act the way they did? What do these events mean for our broader understanding of human behavior? And how do these seemingly disparate incidents actually connect, maybe on a much deeper level?
Yeah.
What's most fascinating, I think, is how they challenge our very notion of what's real.
Absolutely. Okay, let's start with our first account then. Imagine the morning of September 23rd, 1839. There's Captain Brighton, an experienced whaler. He's on the deck of his ship in the infamous Drake Passage, just off Antarctica's northern coast. He'd come all this way chasing whispers of, untouched whale populations, freezing, desolate, incredibly dangerous part of the world. But so far, nothing. Zero whales. And the passage had already lived up to its reputation. I mean, the night before, the ocean around his ship had literally frozen solid, anchored them in place, trapped. It actually took a massive storm, which is dangerous in itself, to break up the ice and finally free them. So now, ocean's liquid again. But Captain Brighton faces this really difficult choice. Does he push further into the unknown, risk getting stranded again, or does he just cut his losses, turn back? That kind of decision out there, it's immense.
It really is. It's the kind of thing that defines a captain, isn't it? Just the sheer isolation, the life or death stakes, the unpredictable forces of nature. That mental burden alone must have been just crushing.
Completely. And, okay, as he's weighing these options, he spots something. On the horizon, a dark shape. At first, he genuinely questions his own eyes. I mean, out here, there's nothing but him, the ocean, ice. But as it gets closer, he realizes it's real. It's another ship. Which, as you can imagine, was incredibly surprising because, well, nobody really ventured out here. His first thought was maybe a rival whaler. But as it drew nearer, he saw it wasn't a whaler at all. It was a schooner, designed for travel, not hunting. But it was in pretty rough shape. The hull, the sails, all tattered. Something was clearly off. He thought maybe its crew had been trapped in the ice, just like his had been. And knowing they had supplies to spare, Captain Brighton, being the compassionate man he apparently was, decided he had to offer aid.
Makes sense. So he quickly had his men ready a dinghy, gather supplies. He, along with four of his crew, started paddling towards the schooner. The waves were brutal, apparently, jostling them around quite a bit. But as they got closer, they periodically glimpsed into the portholes, and Captain Brighton could clearly see people inside. He called out, but, the wind and waves made it hard to tell if anyone heard him. Eventually, they managed to reach the schooner, climbed the ladder, and got on board.
Right. So once on deck, they look around. Everything's tattered like he saw from afar, but remarkably still in working order. Structurally sound, basically, the strange thing. Not a soul was on deck, which is weird, right? They'd seen people inside through the portholes. But up top, just this eerie silence. Captain Brighton thought, okay, we just need to go inside, talk to someone. So they made their way to a door they assumed led to the captain's quarters. Brighton knocked, called out, announcing their presence, offering help. But no answer, just the unsettling sound of water slapping against the hull. He slowly opened the door, peered into the dark captain's quarters, and there, at a desk, sat a man with his back to them. Captain Brighton cautiously stepped inside, called out again, but the man didn't move, didn't respond, just seemed focused on something on his desk. Brighton exchanged this worried glance with his men, then decided, well, he'd just walk over and see what was going on. Called out a few more times as he approached. Still nothing. Finally, he was right behind the man, looked down to read what he was writing. It said, "Trapped by icebergs, despite all efforts, the fire went out last night. No hope remains."
Chilling. And as unsettling as that would be just on its own. The truly shocking part was the date, written right above the entry. January 17th, 1823. That was 16 years prior to Captain Brighton's discovery. That captain, his entire crew, they'd been dead for 16 years. They'd been trapped by the ice, frozen to death, their bodies preserved by the extreme cold, literally frozen in their final moments.
Wow. And the grim details just kept coming as Brighton and his men explored further. They found people frozen mid-action, some playing cards, a woman in her bed with her dog right beside her, others in the dining hall. It was as if all these people had been, well, frozen in time for nearly 2 decades, just perfectly preserved, floating there in the Drake Passage, waiting to be found.
This isn't just a spooky tale, is it? It's more like a profound thought experiment on time itself. I mean, what does it mean for a moment to be preserved like that for 16 years, completely outside the flow of human experience? It really challenges our concept of historical decay versus perfect stasis. To encounter that scene, a perfectly frozen tragedy, it wouldn't just be macabre. It would be a deeply unsettling encounter with history. Just paused. It forces you to consider the sheer power of nature to hold on to moments like that, turning a disaster into a literal snapshot of the past.
It's absolutely chilling. Yeah, the power of nature to encapsulate a moment, incredible. But what about the power of our own minds? To create a false reality with terrifying real-world consequences. Let's shift gears completely for our next strange story. Okay, so this is the night of May 20th, 1958, Eastern India. A young man named Ram Thapa is walking towards an abandoned airport. He's with his boss, another employee, and a friend of his boss. Their mission: a ghost hunt. Seriously. Ram's boss was considering buying the airport, but these persistent rumors claimed it was, thoroughly infested with ghosts, and the place itself. Pitch black, old hangars, rusted buildings, broken planes everywhere. Creepy. Ram himself was utterly terrified. He absolutely believed the place was haunted, so much so that he'd brought a huge knife for protection. His boss and the others were, maybe, intrigued, perhaps found it a bit funny, but Ram was sick to his stomach with fear.
You can just imagine the atmosphere, right? Ram's boss unlocks this creaking gate. The four men enter the property. They're shining their flashlights around, seeing just the dark, quiet outlines of old buildings, planes. Ram, though, he's constantly on edge. Every shadow seems like a ghost. His lights darting around, finding nothing. The quiet, I think, must have been almost worse than any noise would have been. That anticipation.
I can only imagine. Yeah, the mind plays tricks in the dark. Eventually, they reach the actual runway. While the others shine their lights on a huge hangar off to the side, Ram, still scanning for threats, aims his flashlight straight ahead. A couple hundred meters away, just off the side of the runway, he spots what looks like a floating orb. He keeps his light trained on it, signals to his boss, the others. They turn, maybe joking at first, but then they confirm it. They see it too. It makes no sense. And then they notice something below the orb. Grayish figures moving around right beneath it. But before any of them could really react, the dark figures, now lit up by all their flashlights, turn, and eyes glint, looking directly back at Ram and his colleagues. Something inside Ram just clicked. Snapped, maybe. He was absolutely terrified, primed to protect himself with that knife he brought. He didn't know what they were, but he knew in his mind they were evil. He believed if he didn't act, they were all doomed. So without a word to his boss or the others, knife in hand, Ram just took off, running straight towards the figures.
Oh, no. And a few hours later, Ram and his colleagues were at the police station. Ram was in handcuffs. It turned out those figures Ram confronted weren't ghosts at all. They were three women. They'd come to the airfield just to pick flowers, and the orb of light the men had seen. It was just their lantern. Ram, in his absolute terror and conviction that he was attacking ghosts to protect everyone, he'd killed one woman and severely wounded the other two.
Just tragic. And here's the truly surprising part, the legal outcome. Ram was charged, obviously, with murder and assault, but when he went on trial, he was actually acquitted of all charges. The jury genuinely believed that Ram had thought he was attacking ghosts, not people.
Ram's acquittal, it really forces us to confront this uncomfortable intersection, doesn't it? Between psychological reality and legal justice. It powerfully illustrates the immense, almost terrifying power of belief and fear to just completely distort perception, leading to actions with devastating real-world consequences. If the jury genuinely believed he thought he was attacking ghosts, well, it pushes the boundaries of intent. How do we as a society protect ourselves while also grappling with minds that construct entirely different realities? It raises this profound question about the line between, say, a severe delusion and actual criminal intent.
It's a truly unsettling question.
Yeah.
How far can a perceived reality deviate from objective truth before it just changes everything? Okay. Now for our final and by far the most unsettling story, this one takes us to April 9th, 2005. Kaohsiung City, Taiwan. It centers on a young man, a downstairs neighbor, and this eccentric family, the Wu family, who lived upstairs. The Wu family was known for their loud, kind of ceremonial dances and rituals, often involved stomping, chanting at all hours. So on that day, the neighbor heard loud thumping, chanting, and then a scream. He initially dismissed it, just thought it was part of their usual religious rituals. He just turned up his TV.
Right, but then fast forward 2 days, April 11th, the neighbor's home again, hears loud pounding, but this time it's on his front door. He opens it to find Wu Shan, the patriarch of the Wu family, and Wu Shan looked absolutely horrible. Pale, skinny, gaunt, covered in what looked like filth food, ash. and he smelled apparently unbelievably bad. The neighbor asked if everything was okay, remembering the strange noises from 2 days before. But Wu Shan just looked at him, vacant expression, and cryptically said, "Call an ambulance."
Oh.
Then, without another word, he turned and just ran off into the street.
The young man was left utterly bewildered. I mean, Wushan looked sick, ran off, and the neighbor's still thinking about that bizarre ritual, the one that stopped so abruptly with a scream 2 days prior. He decides he has to investigate upstairs before doing anything else, check on them. He goes up to the Wu family's apartment. Even standing outside the door, he could smell that absolutely horrible stench. He knocked, no one answered. He tried the doorknob, unlocked. Apprehensively, knowing he needed to see what was going on, he opened the door, immediately hit with another wave of that disgusting smell. The apartment was totally filthy, just covered in grime. He called out, no answer. He made his way into the living room, and there, in the middle of the floor, he stopped. The sight before him was something he just couldn't process. The horrific discovery in the living room was the Wu family's daughter. The one who had originally fallen ill. She was lying on the ground, deceased.
Oh, God. And an autopsy would later reveal the truly grim details. Her airway was totally blocked by feces and vomit. This was the tragic result of the family's descent into a collective delusion. Weeks before, the daughter had gotten sick. Because the family had little money for a doctor, they interpreted her illness as demon possession.
Right.
And soon the entire family came to believe they were all possessed by the same demon.
So, on that day, the downstairs neighbor heard the noises. The Wu family was performing this massive group exorcism, trying to rid themselves of these demons once and for all. Their horrifying belief was that demons feared filth. Therefore, as they chanted, stomped, and screamed for hours, they consumed their own feces, and when they would vomit it back up, they would immediately reswallow it. For hours.
Just horrific. The remaining Wu family members were tracked down by police, arrested. However, in a really rare legal outcome, a court ultimately acquitted them. The ruling was that they were suffering from mass hysteria. And to understand that ruling, it's important to know that mass hysteria isn't just like a panic, it's a collective delusion. An entire group shares a false belief or experience, often amplified by isolation, shared anxiety. It can lead to physical symptoms or extreme behaviors without any clear external cause. The court essentially recognized that their perception of reality had become so fractured. Their actions, however horrific, stemmed from a shared profound delusion, not malice in the traditional sense.
The Wu family's tragedy. It isn't just an extreme act, is it? It's this chilling window into the pathology of collective delusion. What factors amplify shared beliefs to such a devastating degree, especially when isolated from external reality checks? It really forces you to consider the tragic lengths fear can drive people to when combined with a particular belief system and profound isolation. And for the legal system, how do you even begin to prosecute actions stemming from a reality that has completely fractured for an entire family? It's mind-boggling.
It really is. And when we connect the dots, across these three really diverse narratives, common threads emerge. They truly make you rethink things. Each story, in its own way, explores the boundaries of the known and the profound impact of extreme conditions, whether it's the physical environment preserving a ghost ship, or the psychological terror that distorted Ram's reality, or that communal delusion that just consumed the Wu family. And in each instance, we see the often unpredictable human response to the terrifying or the inexplicable.
It's astonishing, isn't it, how deeply held beliefs, whether about ghosts, demons, the power of ritual, dangers of the unknown, can dramatically shape what people see, what they do, and even how their actions are understood legally. They force us to ask, what does it truly mean to intend an action when your perception of reality is so fundamentally warped? These aren't just sensational, bizarre tales. They offer profound insights into human psychology, the very limits of rationality, and the enduring, often terrifying power of the unexplainable to shape our world and our choices. That's the real aha moment here, isn't it? That connection.
Absolutely. The way these stories just peel back the layers of how fragile our reality can actually be, and how powerfully our internal worlds can influence the external. There's so much to learn about ourselves, about our societies, even from the most bizarre and, frankly, inexplicable events.
We've taken a strange journey today, haven't we? Through these deeply unsettling yet profoundly human stories. From an Antarctic time capsule to a tragic ghost hunt and a horrifying ritual born of delusion. So as you go about your day, maybe consider this. What hidden truths might be preserved or may be distorted by the extreme conditions of our own beliefs or environments, just waiting for someone to brave a deep dive?